Hi and welcome to Knooking 101 here at the Totally Fierce Crochet channel. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how to nook the moss stitch in the flat and in the round. And let's start again with the flat version. Now, the moss stitch is a stitch that works best with an even amount of stitches, so 10, 12, 20, just as much as you need. And what's also good to know is that the moss stitch is a 4-row repeat, but I will show you how it's done in detail. The first row, let's start by picking up our first loop, and we are now going to alternate between knit stitches and purl stitches. So first we start with the knit stitch, so you yarn over and pull it through the loop. Then we take our yarn to the front and make a purl stitch by grabbing it from the side and twisting it up, and then yarn under and pull it through. Then we take the yarn to the back and make our next knit stitch, then back to the front, take the next loop from the side, yarn under and pull through, and this we do all the way. So we end this round with a purl stitch, which is correct. Then you can release the helper yarn, turn your work, and then we are basically making the exact same thing just from the other side. So we start again with a knit stitch, then a moss stitch. So we start again with a knit stitch, then again take our yarn to the front and make the next purl stitch, and then the knit stitch, and then the purl stitch all the way through. And then you turn your work, and now we are doing the exact opposite. So you grab the yarn, or you grab the loop, push the yarn to the front, and now take it through. And then after that, we push it back to the back and make a knit stitch, then to the front with a purl stitch, then again a knit stitch, purl, knit. So whenever you had like 2 knit stitches on top of each other, like you have it here, then you get now 2 purl stitches on top of each other before then going back to the first round basically. And in that case, we end our round with a knit stitch, pull the yarn through, and then again we start with our first purl stitch. The first one is always a bit different than the others, and then again we are alternating stitches. And this is basically it, the 4-round repeat that we have to do, that we have to continue right until the end. And now, since we have the yarn in the front, of course we have to now bring it back like we had it in previous stitches, and for that matter take it back to the front already. You could also just skip the first stitch, but then the stitch number would be completely out of order, or just make a single chain or something like this. But I'm just going to show it to you how I learned it. Of course, always feel free to do it your way or experiment with it. That is absolutely fine. And you just continue this 4-round repeat. Maybe as a little tip, if you're unsure what kind of stitch you had in the previous round, you can always watch out at the end of each of the loops when there's a bar like this bump here, this knot. You will always know that in the previous round this was a knit stitch, whereas when you don't have it, like you see it here, because there's the stitch underneath it, this was a purl stitch in the previous round, and there the bump is in the front. So just in case you were looking for something to identify the stitches, then you can always look at those elements. And here we go, the moss stitch in the flat. As you can see, you get a super pretty structure, very 3D, and perfect for hats and also shawls, scarves. I mean, you can really use this moss stitch for almost everything, and the great thing is the front looks identical to the back, so definitely a great stitch to know how to nook. And now we take a look how this works in the round. And the good thing is that it works exactly the same way. So first we knit one, then we purl one, then knit one, purl one, right until the end, and then we make the same kind of stitches on top of the previous stitches before then switching it up for 2 rounds. But of course I'll show you. So now we are done with the first round. I'm just going to pull my helper yarn out and bring me back to the starting position. Again, watch out just for those stitches. Here you can see the knit stitch, all the V's on top of each other, and whenever you see something horizontal like this here, then you always know it's a purl stitch. Here's then the next knit stitch, and here's the next purl stitch. So also later on, when you have then 2 purl stitches on top of each other, you know how to change and then have 2 knit stitches. So just as a reminder to always take a look at the stitches that you have. Usually you can easily tell what stitch you made in the previous round. Sorry, I was in the wrong loop. Now here and in the first one. And then again, knit stitches and purl stitches, always alternating. And we are already at round number 3. Here we have the 2 purl stitches on top, which means here we have 2 knit stitches. So the next stitch here is going to be a purl stitch on top of the previous knit stitch, like that, and then we can take our yarn back and make our first knit stitch over those 2 purl stitches, and like this we can continue for 2 rounds until we have the full pattern complete. And here we go, the moss stitch in the round looks exactly the same like in the flat, and again The inside looks the same as well. And now I almost have my mitten ready. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about nooking, make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my Knooking 101 playlist to see all the episodes. Happy nooking!